Fox Local. We'll hope to see you back here on the news at 4. Have a great day.
Next stop, Sherry.
All right, everyone, it's 1 p.m. on your Thursday afternoon. Thanks so much for being with us here on Chicago Live for another day together. We really appreciate you being here with us. I'm your host, Anita Blanton, and I'll be with you through 4 p.m. Listen, let's talk a little bit about what is coming up in this first hour, how things are shaping up for this first hour together. We're going to talk about the use of automatic start and stop technology systems. It's never actually been mandated for automakers here in the United States, but nearly every new car that you get these days features them. Question is, should they? It seems like the EPA is maybe making a position change on this. We're going to talk about why a little bit later on in the hour. We're also expecting a press conference with several local and state leaders and advocacy groups to announce the introduction of the Illinois Voting Rights Act of 2026. This should be happening around 1:30. They say that this aims to guarantee protections for Illinois voters and ensure elections in Illinois are fair and accessible to all eligible voters. So as soon as that begins, we'll try to take you there live. Dr. Kevin King from the City of Hope Cancer Center here in Chicago is going to be joining me to talk about new technology that they're using now that allows doctors to fine-tune radiation every day instead of using a one-size-fits-all plan. So we have plenty of different things that are going on today that we're going to be getting to, conversations that we're going to be having. So we appreciate you being here for it all. Now, let's go ahead. There is a live event happening right now at this moment. President Trump is speaking. We're going to listen into this for just a bit as we get going.
She's very good. Yes.
President, following your meeting with Prime Minister Netanyahu yesterday, has your thinking changed at all as it relates to these negotiations with Iran or the timeline with Iran?
We have to make a deal. Otherwise, it's going to be very traumatic. Very traumatic. I don't want that to happen, but we have to make a deal. They should have made a deal the first time, and they got Midnight Hammer instead. And this will be very traumatic for Iran if they don't make a deal. Look, if they don't make a deal, then it'll be a different story. But we had a very good meeting yesterday with Bibi Netanyahu, and he understands, but it's ultimately up to me. If the deal isn't a very fair deal and a very good deal with Iran, then it's going to be, I think, a very difficult time for them in the back. I guess over the next month, something like that. Yeah, it shouldn't take, I mean, it should happen quickly. They should agree very quickly. Yeah.
Mr. President, we might be heading into a partial government shutdown. When was the last time you spoke with Chuck Schumer, and do you still feel Democrats are negotiating in good faith?
Well, a week ago I spoke, but, we have to protect our law enforcement. Actually, the Supreme Court gave a ruling, or one of the courts gave a very big ruling on masks, that you have the right to use them, for personal protection if you want. So I don't know how that interjects. They want our law enforcement to be totally vulnerable and put them in a lot of danger. They have some things that are really very hard to approve, frankly. As you know, it's only pretend. We had various of the other bills, that's all done, but we're left with this one. We have to protect our law enforcement, very important. Please.
Why does Prime Minister Netanyahu want you to stop negotiating with Iran?
You're saying stop entertaining, stop talking to them? Didn't say that, we didn't discuss that. I'll talk to them as long as I like, and we'll see if we can get a deal with them, and if we can't, we'll have to go to phase two. Phase two will be very tough for them. I'm not looking for that.
Mr. President, there are currently 0 Israeli hostages left in Gaza because of you. Thank you for that. And now that the war is ending in Gaza and Israel, I wanted to ask, do you believe Bibi bears any responsibility for the security failures that we saw on October 7th?
Well, October 7th was a rough time, and I guess everybody's responsible. It's you to look, but it was a terrible attack. It was a sneak attack. It was as violent as unfortunately, I've seen some of the results.
Okay, listening in there to a bit of the question and answer there from the president with reporters there in the room. As we were just taking that, he was speaking about Israel and Gaza. Obviously, they've had a drawdown, but at the same time, there are many issues that still remain, tension that is still high. In fact, I saw something today about one of the aid groups still giving about 100,000 meals to people in Gaza still today, but then still a lot of questions as to how this even this phase of the tension even started there October 7th of 2023. Now, I can't believe it's gotten this far since that date, but so much has gone on in that time, so many lives that have been lost, and so still kind of sifting through that. Also, he was asked about the possibility of another government shutdown, with Democrats pushing for changes to what federal agents are and are not allowed to do. The president, talking about a big ruling that would change, Democrats were pushing for agents to not be able to wear masks, but the ruling actually was in favor of the Trump administration allowing them to wear masks for their own protection. So he kind of addressed that just a bit there. And then also he was pressed about his meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu yesterday, and that, ironically enough, is about Iran. It's not necessarily about Israel and Gaza. It's about Iran. And he says that they need to make some steps forward, or in his words, they will have a very tough time. So he's continuing on with that meeting there, continuing on with his conversation, the question and answer portion that he's going through there with reporters in the room. But I want to bring things back here at home and talk a little bit about an issue that so many different localities are grappling with, and that is whether to have data centers and how their residents, how their businesses, how people are feeling about that right now. There was a moratorium in Aurora, but they are going to have an open forum tonight, an open house tonight to hear directly from people. The Director of Sustainability, Allison Lindbergh, is joining me now to talk a little bit about what's been going on there in Aurora and what is still to come even this evening. Thank you so much for your time on a busy day.
Yes, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Let me first get your maybe update, if you will, on the moratorium there in your area.
Sure. So the moratorium was enacted for 180 days and basically paused developments on data centers and warehouses. So it will end on March 25th. So staff has been taking time to understand best practices, learn from other municipalities, and now we have put together a set of proposed requirements for future data center developments, and we will be talking about some of those requirements that we're proposing at tonight's open house.
Mm-hmm. Big questions surround this, and that's a part of why you ended up with a moratorium. Tell me about even getting to that point. Obviously you wanted to hear from people in the area, which is why you decided to have this open house tonight. But what made you all pause to begin with?
Yeah, data centers are fast and furious coming here to Illinois. Illinois is the fourth largest area in the United States for data center development, and one of in the top 10 in the Chicagoland region in the entire world. So we have a lot of data centers here. We have a lot of interest in more data centers. And we realized here in Aurora that we did not have requirements that adequately addressed some of the concerns we had from our citizens. We also just didn't even have a definition of a data center. So we needed to take a pause. There are not really standardized requirements at the national level for data centers. So we had to look up some best practices, learn from other municipalities to get an idea of what we wanted to propose ourselves so that we can address the concerns of our citizens.
Mm-hmm. And obviously, citizens may have a different type of feedback than your business community, which is in part made up of some of your citizens, but they may have a different view on whether these data centers are necessary, or even the positives and negatives of what they could do to your area.
Sure. Most of the feedback I've received so far has been from citizens and residences, but I'm sure that there are businesses that might have a different view as well, specifically the developers of the data centers.
And warehouses. Speak a little bit more to that.
Sure. So in our zoning ordinance, essentially a data center was treated as a warehouse. So for us to actually put a moratorium in place, we needed to pause both warehouses and data centers. We will have some new requirements for warehouses, but at tonight's open house, we will be only talking about data centers.
Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on, this being something that so many areas will have to take up? Like you said, there are more and more proposals for data centers. Aurora definitely isn't the only locality, even here in Illinois, that over the last 90 days has had to have some tough conversations about whether to have them, where to have them. What are your thoughts on just this period of time?
Yeah, I think that we are in an interesting time. Technology, as we've all seen over the last decade, just continues to grow exponentially, and data centers are growing with it, especially with AI coming along. And I think that it's not impossible for data centers to develop sustainably. I think we just need to put some guardrails in place. And there are some examples of data centers that have looked at using water conservatively, or to try to install solar so that their energy isn't making a huge impact on the grid. So I think it can be done, and I'm excited to see what might come forward and what we hear from our citizens tonight.
Mm-hmm. The energy and water being two things that you regularly hear about. Let me ask you, are there some areas in the country that you feel like have handled data centers extremely well and would serve as a model for Aurora?
That's a great question. We have looked at a lot of places across the country. As you probably know, Virginia gets a lot of data center development. They have taken on some interesting ideas, working together regionally in some areas. But really what we found is there isn't a one-size-fits-all for every community. Chicago has very different data center needs than Aurora, for example. So hopefully we've learned a lot from these other communities. And again, I just want to say, I think that it is possible for us to have sustainable data centers as long as the data centers are willing.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that, you're saying as long as they're willing, is it a compromise on all sides?
I don't think so. I think that you can do things sustainably, and also it'll probably end up saving them a lot of money in the long run. If you're using less energy, that's something we want to see, then that's less money for them to pay in their utility bills. If they're using less water, it's the same thing. So I think that it can be done, and I think they maybe just need a little bit of guidance and to understand what our citizens care about in terms of those requirements, and it should probably help, put them in the right track.
Mm-hmm. Where in Aurora are we looking at the possibility of a data center going?
I don't know the answer to that. To be honest, we don't have a lot of land left over to develop for data centers here in Aurora. But there has to be a certain amount of land for new data centers. And right now, they're going to have to fit within certain zoning requirements.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then also I'm thinking, okay, let's say you are able to come to some type of agreement on how to sustainably build and how to make this work for both their business interests, but then also the residents' interest as well. What would a timeline be like? Do we have any idea of that? Are we looking at something that you could see in 2026, or are we 5 years out, 10 years out still?
Do you mean for the requirements themselves, or for the data centers being completely built?
For an actual data center. Are we grappling with something that we wouldn't actually see or bring to fruition for another 5 more years? Or are we actually talking about something that could impact people in 2026?
I think that some of the impacts we're talking about will be immediate, and depending on the size of the data center and how ready they might be in development, if they propose something, we might see something probably not all the way in 26 being built for a new data center, but probably in 2027 if we're just talking about new construction.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, just give me a little bit of the rudimentary information for tonight's meeting. In case someone is listening right now, they live in Aurora, they hadn't heard anything about it. What do they need to know for tonight?
Sure. So tonight we will be having an open house, and it will be a chance for residents and stakeholders to learn what our proposed requirements are and what we found through some of our research. The open house starts at 5:30 and goes until 7. We will have an opportunity for Q&A, and obviously we are asking for, we really want to hear from residents and businesses in Aurora, but everyone is welcome. It will be held at the new Public Works facility on Liberty Street. And if you want more information, you can just look up Data Center Moratorium and City of Aurora, and we have a whole webpage dedicated to it. We also have an open survey if residents are interested in taking and leaving their feedback online.
Okay, very interesting stuff. We'll be looking for an update on this for sure. Thank you so much for your time.
Okay, thanks for having me.
Okay, take care. It's 1:15, everyone. Give us 2 minutes and we'll be right back. All right, welcome back, everyone. It's about 1:18 right now, and I do want to let you know, we were just speaking about the Aurora Data Center meeting that's happening this evening, and we do have our own Brett Bugansky, who is going to be at that meeting, so you can expect updates from us later on tonight in the 4, 5, and 9 p.m. newscast from Brett on what's going on there. Let's move on to our next conversation, though. There has been so much surrounding the death of actor James Van Der Beek that's been said just within the last 24 hours. If you were with us yesterday, we brought our entertainment anchor Jake Hamilton onto the show when we just found out about James Van Der Beek's death and finding out that it was from colorectal cancer at just 48 years old. So many more questions, come to your mind, because it feels like we're starting to hear more and more about younger people under the age of 50 who are starting to be diagnosed with these types of cancers. It gets us to thinking about, one, the age, two, the increase in these diagnoses, but then also the treatments that are available. And that's where Dr. Kevin King and the City of Hope Cancer Center here in Chicago come into play. I want to go ahead and bring him into the discussion to talk about some new technology that they have on their hands and your overall thoughts, one, on us hearing of yet another actor, young, 48 years old, who's passed away now from something that so many have said is fairly preventable.
Yeah, so thanks for having me on again. And this is definitely a very important conversation to be having. I will say that based on the American Cancer Society 2026 stacks or facts and statistics that they put out, we are seeing that there's an improvement amongst many types of cancers across the board. However, we are seeing a lot younger people become diagnosed specifically with colorectal cancer. And the big thing with all of this is that these are often curable diseases when they're caught early through detection.
And so that's where your new technology comes in terms of treatment, detection. Tell us a little bit about what you all have on your hands. I believe it's 2 machines.
Yeah, so here at City of Hope Chicago, we've just brought online 2 major advancements within radiation oncology and treatment for many solid tumors. The first would be our Varian Ethos Adaptive Radiation Planning, and the second is our Siemens PET/CT simulator, specifically designed for radiation planning. When you put the 2 machines together, we're able to deliver the most up-to-date and the most precise treatment that you can get when it comes to radiation therapy planning.
Now, who would be an eligible candidate for this?
So really any type of solid tumor can be targeted with radiation. It doesn't even have to be the primary tumor. It could be some sort of metastatic disease. Anywhere in the body, from the brain down to the pinky toe, will benefit from the combination of these 2 machines together.
And it's new, but you all have already had your first patient. Tell me a little bit about that process and what you can release about this particular person.
Definitely. So for this patient, he was a gentleman with prostate cancer that unfortunately he went to an outside institution, and while he was there, some things were missed on some of his imaging, and he was unfairly taken to surgery kind of before he was necessary. When he presented to City of Hope Chicago, we were able to look at his imaging and unfortunately find out that he had more advanced disease than was expected. We found that the prostate cancer was actually invading into the rectum, and it made him not a good surgical candidate because of that.
Wow.
So what we now are able to offer him is using this adaptive therapy on our Ethos machine. And what the adaptive therapy is going to do is that typically how radiation works is that we take a scan and we put that scan and we map out where we want the radiation to go. But then we use that same scan day after day after day, anywhere between one single treatment all the way up to about 8 weeks of treatment once a day, every day. So a lot of times we're treating patients with a scan that has been done 2 months prior to where they are today. And the thing is, as you probably know, your body isn't static. Tumors shrink, organs move. The prostate can shift around depending on the bladder filling each and every day. So the Ethos is going to allow us to re-image that patient every single day when they come in and actually use artificial intelligence to adapt the radiation plan to meet the specific qualifications for the patient that day.
That is fascinating. And I think you kind of touched on one aspect that I was getting ready to ask you about in terms of the timing between the scan and the treatment. And that would be how much could change in between that time?
Definitely. I mean, it's one of these things that we don't really think about too much because we assume it's going to be lined up very similarly from the first treatment all the way to the last treatment. But so many things change within patients, and using this technology will allow us to have the most precise treatments within the city of Chicago.
Wow, that's amazing. So you said that he had prostate cancer. This could be someone with another form of cancer, though, that it could be used for as well. Are you all preparing already to see people with various types of cancers? Or right now, since you're in the beginning stages of using it, kind of limiting it?
We are ready for everyone and anyone to come on in. And it's not just prostate cancer that's going to benefit from this. There are a lot of cancers within the body that will either move a lot from day to day. So if someone has like pancreas cancer, your bowel shifts around all the time. And this type of technology will allow us to be very precise with that treatment. Similarly, if a patient comes in with something like a head and neck tumor, oftentimes they come in with these really big lymph nodes on the side of their neck that respond very well and very quickly to treatment. But unless you do constant replanning throughout their treatment course, these patients end up with some pretty significant skin toxicities that we are now able to account for by changing their plan each and every day that they come in for treatment.
Wow, wow, wow. What does it say to you that we've come this far with technology to treat cancers?
I mean, I'm going to nerd out a little bit, but it's amazing. Like, this is one of those things that makes me so excited because I see patients come through each and every day who have various types of cancers. And while, yes, we're giving them the treatment that they need to cure the cancer, oftentimes they suffer side effects from the treatment. They feel fatigued. They have these skin changes. They have different bowel toxicities. And with this technology, we're able to reduce a lot of those symptoms, allowing the patient to get through their definitive treatment at a much easier course.
And are your thoughts that, we're with what we're seeing? So if there are advancements in technology, there are statistics that show that more people are living post-diagnoses for many different categories. But then we're also seeing younger people diagnosed. What do you think's going on there?
It is majorly speculation at this point. We don't have a clear answer as to why more people are being diagnosed at a younger age. We do know that early detection matters and that having a colonoscopy, and there's different blood tests out there, there's different stool tests out there that can find symptoms of colon cancer at an earlier stage, allowing it to be curable. Because we know that early detection isn't just helpful, it is the difference between cure and just control.
Wow. And that's a huge difference for so many people. Thank you so much for your time and always coming on to kind of let us know what's the latest and greatest, because like you said, this is the difference between, people really suffering through treatment, as many people do, choosing what's the, like kind of picking your poison, essentially, or thriving. But obviously we want to save lives in the end. So thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. Thank you again for having me.
Really appreciate it. All right, everyone, it's at 1:27. These are interesting conversations, and I think obviously we could talk about new advancements in terms of the technology every day. Our antennas should be up year round, quite frankly, but when we do have someone, a high profile person like a James Vanderbeek, or just a few years ago, Chadwick Boseman, someone of that nature who passes away from something that the doctors do say, no, if you could catch it early, we could do something with it. Hey, let's have those conversations a little bit more. Again, we want everyone to thrive. We want everyone to have the options that are available to them and to know what's out there, the resources that you can have for a longer, healthier life. Let's give a 2-minute break here and we'll be back. We're expecting a press conference to start up pretty soon here, and you can see people already standing outside getting ready for it. The mics are up. So you can see one of our crews is there. Our mic is right there. That's actually Stefan, the photographer, adjusting the mic. So this press conference should be getting momentarily underway, and this is about voting rights. So give us 2 minutes and we'll be right back. If they're ready to go, we'll go there, and if not, we'll press on. Welcome back, everyone. 1:31 right now, and let's go back to that press conference. I do believe it's now underway here as there are local leaders and organizations holding it to announce the introduction of the Illinois Voting Rights Act of 2026.
The partners, our community leaders who are here today and who do this work every single day. The last year has made one thing remarkably clear. Democracy does not run on autopilot. It only survives if people are willing to protect it. And at the center of that responsibility is a fundamental right to vote. So voting is how working people hold power accountable. It is how our communities demand what they need. And it is how we build a government that reflects the people that it is meant to serve. Yet our electoral system in Illinois still contains real inequities. Too many voters face barriers based on race, on language, or the way that our election systems are designed. At the same time, federal voting protections are being rolled back, shifting even more responsibility onto states like Illinois. So let me be clear. When the federal government steps back from protecting our democracy, Illinois will step forward. We will not wait. We will not be silent, and we will not allow our communities to be pushed out of the democratic process. The Illinois Voting Rights Act is how we meet this moment. This bill ensures that elections in Illinois are fair and accessible to everyone. It strengthens the legal tools that communities can use to fight voter suppression and protects voters from the continued erosion of federal voting rights. It creates stronger protections against unfair districts and election systems that dilute the voting power of Black and brown communities and deny voters a real chance to elect the candidates that they support. And it expands language access so voters with limited English proficiency can fully participate in our democratic process and cast a ballot that counts. So at its core, this bill is about fairness, about access, about accountability. It is about one simple promise. In Illinois, your voice matters, your vote matters, and your democracy belongs to you. So at a time when democracy is under attack across the country, Illinois has both the opportunity and the obligation to lead. I'm proud to champion this bill. I'm looking forward to working with its advocates to deliver on this bill so that our communities across the state can get what they deserve when we pass this bill. Thank you.
And I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Rod Wilson. I'm with Virginia Burns Hope Center. And one way they attacked our vote and take our voting power from us is through voter dilution. So instead of having a Black community that can vote together to increase their power, they may break it up into 2 districts. They break their population 2 or 3 districts to dilute their power. And in the last redistricting map, we saw that happening to the residents of East St. Louis. They took some of the Black voting population and put it into another district. And the next group that's going to come up and speak challenged that. The Chicago Lawyers Committee, along with the Legal Defense Fund and other organizations, challenged that map, saying you are marginalizing the residents of East St. Louis by disempowering them and taking their voting power away. And what we predicted would happen, happened. For the first time in over 50 or 60 years, the residents of East St. Louis were not able to elect the candidate of their choice to represent them. And so we're going to bring up Connor Kozichek, who was with the Chicago Lawyers Committee to help lead that fight, and that came together to help us draft this legislation that's going to make sure Illinois voters get the power they need to have. Connor.
Thank you, Rod, and thank you for all of the community advocates who've joined us here today. I'm Connor Kozichek. I am Program Counsel with Chicago Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights. At Chicago Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights, we work to eliminate barriers to voting and civic participation, especially in historically marginalized communities. We're a nonpartisan organization and believe the right to vote is fundamental to a healthy democracy. The hard-won civil rights that generations fought for are under attack, and voting rights is no exception. In 1965, Congress enacted the Federal Voting Rights Act, one of the most significant pieces of civil rights legislation in our country's history. And over the course of the last decade and a half, the U.S. Supreme Court and other federal courts have gutted and eroded the protections of the Federal Voting Rights Act. It is time for states to step in and make sure that voters are not left vulnerable to discrimination or exclusion. Illinois has the opportunity to take control of protecting the right to vote by codifying and strengthening the protections of the Federal Voting Rights Act into state law. A key piece of this legislation includes expanding language access requirements for eligible voters who are still in the process of learning English. Language access is one of the clearest indicators of whether democracy is working right and for everyone. When voters cannot access ballots, signage, or assistance in their language, they are excluded even if they are eligible to vote. The Illinois Voting Rights Act will create stronger requirements to proactively address barriers to language access, and our elections and our democracy are stronger when every voter has equitable access to the ballot box and have their voice heard. We're proud to be in this fight with our partners and get this important legislation passed. Thank you.
All right, so also, today we have another organization with us today that's been fighting for fair maps so that we could choose the folks to represent us instead of them choosing who they want to represent. Our elected officials are supposed to represent us. Our job is to tell them how to represent us. Their job is to do it. And so in that, we should have some say on how we are grouped together and who we coalesce with to build the voting power we need. So we're going to bring up Ryan Talley from the Change Illinois Coalition.
Thank you, Rod. Change Illinois, we're a nonpartisan nonprofit that champions equitable democracy, ethics, and efficiency in government and elections. We believe in the power of Illinoisans. We believe the more of us that participate in our elections, we can demand better and succeed in achieving equitable democracy for voters in Illinois. When districts are drawn for political gain, voters lose and don't get a real chance to choose their representatives. Too often we are challenging unfair maps after the damage is already done. This legislation will allow Illinois to be more proactive and move us closer to a democracy that fairly represents us all. It's time for Illinois to set a new standard for protecting the right to vote and join other states that have already passed a Voting Rights Act. Illinois can help ensure that every eligible voter has the right to cast a ballot. Thank you.
And other members of our coalition includes Coalition for a Better Chinese American Community. We have West Side Rising. We have out of Springfield, Faith Coalition for the Common Good. Also the East St. Louis branch of the NAACP. So we do have a statewide coalition that's come together to make sure Illinoisans' votes are protected. So we want to thank you all. Are there any questions?
Rod, let me ask you. When we talk about voters' rights being eroded, what specifically are you referring to?
The example that I just gave what happened in East St. Louis. The whole Federal Voting Rights Act was set up so that if you're a minority or you can be grouped with other minorities so you can have that voting power. And so what happened in East St. Louis, some folks were taken out away from their community and put into another community. Now you're diluting that power. So that just happened in Illinois just 4 or 5 years ago. And so that's a great example of how if we don't pass this thing here, so we don't have to go to federal court, we can go to the state court. Because the federal law is a little vague. We're trying to make sure it's more concretized so that when we go there, we can show easily, this is how you're diluting power. This is how you're making sure people don't have access. They don't have ballots in their language that they need to have it in. Instead of having 10,000, maybe it's 3,000, residents who speak their language have a ballot. So we're trying to make sure that we are making sure Illinoisans can say what they need to say when they go to the polls.
Okay, so again this is right here in the city of Chicago where Senator Graciela Guzman, Chicago Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights, the Eugenia Burns Hope Center, and Change Illinois were holding that press conference to introduce the Illinois Voting Rights Act of 2026. Obviously, this is a huge year, okay? It's a midterm election year. We're going to hear a lot of different voices as to how things should proceed in the country when it comes to elections. elections. And this particular coalition of people, they said that a democracy doesn't run on autopilot, therefore they are fighting for this. They say the government should reflect the people it serves. And they talked a lot about inequities in the state and also throughout the country that they believe are issues that need to be addressed right now. They talked about strengthening legal tools and how communities of color, black and brown communities, can have their power diluted from different districts being separated. That it was a big conversation even in 2025 of redistricting for several states. You know, we even saw several of the lawmakers in Texas come here to Illinois to try to keep that vote from happening there. It still ended up happening, but it linked back here to Illinois. So they talked about fairness and access being their main points of contention, and again, pushing for this Illinois Voting Rights Act of 2026. That is proceeding on with question and answer. So we wanted to go ahead to the East Coast, where senators are actually in the process of talking about elections right now as well.
But those efforts to interfere are underway and ongoing. We've seen the Department of Justice sue 24 states that happen to be led by Democrats, targeting their voter rolls, in addition to the intimidation and strong-arm tactics. We also know that Donald Trump says he regrets not issuing an executive order in his first term directing the military to illegally seize voting machines. He's not shy about this, folks. He thinks he has a Department of Homeland Security now more willing to carry out such illegal actions this time around. And so, yes, the threat is real. Or consider his former White House advisor, who's called on the president to deploy ICE to intimidate U.S. citizens trying to vote this November. So let's be absolutely clear. That is already illegal. Armed federal agents at polling locations is voter intimidation and has no place in our democracy. Think about that. Think about that. Using federal force to intimidate voters at the polls? It's hard to imagine anything more un-American. And so that's why today, colleagues, I'm announcing a new amendment to the Department of Homeland Security funding bill that's still being negotiated and delivered.
All right, so just listening into a piece of that there, that was California Senator Alex Padilla, who was speaking on the floor there and making some interesting points. I'll link it back. He talked about intimidation tactics, he believes, from the Trump administration, talking about elections, but also linking that back into ICE and the federal immigration efforts. Now, when I said link back, if you think about the fact that it was Alex Padilla, Senator Padilla, who was speaking about that, think back to 2025, just last year, in the increased, ramped up immigration efforts, it was Senator Alex Padilla that was tackled by federal agents during a press conference that the DHS secretary was hosting in California. That video went viral as he was tackled by the agents, brought out into the hallway. There was a lot of discussion as to what was going on, why he showed up. He said that he had just happened to be down the hall, heard that the DHS secretary was in the building and wanted to go have this discussion with her. The Trump administration says that in the middle of a press conference shouldn't be the time that you want to have that discussion. There was a lot that went on with that. But again, that did concern Senator Alex Padilla, who was right there on the floor talking about elections, but also intimidation tactics. And he specifically said strong arm tactics. So again, many different things that are happening right now. Early voting is already beginning here in the state of Illinois, just started up this week. We'll have more on that as well later on this evening, as we've just had the super site open this week. So a lot going on with elections. It's a big year, 2026, for elections. You'll hear us talk a lot more about it, but we're going to press on with our conversations here on Chicago Live right after this break. Give us 2 minutes and we'll be right back. Hey, welcome back, everyone. If you're out on the road in a newer car, especially, and you pull up to a light and the car shuts off, and then it turns back on so that you can get through that light after it turns green, how do you feel? Is it annoying, or do you feel like, well, I'm helping the environment somehow? Positions are changing on how much help it's actually doing. And in fact, the EPA may soon be coming out with some new advice where that is concerned. Mike Hanley, the senior road test editor at cars.com, is joining me now to talk a little bit more about this. Now, I need you to take off your expert hat first before you put it on to talk a little further. Does it annoy you?
It really depends on the type of system. Some of them are very well implemented. They're very smooth and seamless, but some of them are more jarring when those engines restart.
Yeah, and especially if you're unfamiliar with it, if it's happening, you're like, what is going on? Wait a minute. And then you're like, oh, this is, okay, all right, this is what's supposed to happen. So are we really doing that much to help the environment through it?
Well, I think it really depends on the type of driving you do. If you're doing a lot of highway driving in your vehicle, you're not going to see that big of a benefit in fuel savings. But if you do more stop and go driving, like around Chicago, studies have shown that it can improve fuel economy in those instances anywhere from 7 to 27%. That was from a 2023 study on these systems and how effective they are. So it really depends on the type of driving you're going to be doing.
Very interesting. So are you surprised to see some possible movement from the EPA?
Well, I think from a consumer perspective, there definitely has been some sentiment against it. So people don't always like the feeling of when the engine restarts, also some of the negative effects it can have on the effectiveness of a climate control system when the engine is off. But these systems are very widespread now in vehicles. More than 70% of new cars have them. So it would be a big change if they were to go away.
It would be a huge change. And I mean, if the EPA says, all right, we're not, and there was never it was never mandatory, correct?
No, it wasn't mandated, but automakers got regulatory credits by adding them so that they could help meet regulations around fuel economy. So a lot of them adopted them starting in the mid-2010s and beyond.
Yeah, and so they got credit for it. Would it be very costly to make the change moving forward?
Well, I think there's more technology that goes into these systems. You have heavier duty starters, different types of batteries, and you've added more complexity to the vehicle by having them there. So it's possible if an automaker reverted to simpler technology, that would be one way they could do that by not having these systems.
So it'd actually be more cost effective for them not to have them.
I think it could be. And what we've seen is that when more complexity is introduced into vehicles, there's a greater chance for things to go wrong. There have been cases where automakers have either had to issue software updates or some corrections to hardware when these systems weren't working as designed.
And I wanted to talk a little bit more about that. I mean, the start, stop. Is it wearing your car down faster?
Well, that's partly why these systems have heavier duty starters to account for that. But if you have certain vehicles, like you drive a hybrid, perhaps that is built into the vehicle automatically. That engine's stopping when you come to a stop, and even can sometimes remain off for a bit when you get going again.
So where do you see, all right, let's say we don't need, the EPA says, all right, you really don't need to have the start-stop technology anymore. What do you think would possibly take its place?
Well, I think we are seeing that greater adoption of gas electric hybrid vehicles really spreading through all different types of vehicle classes, whether it's a compact SUV or even a larger family three-row SUV. These models now offer hybrid powertrains where it's normal for the vehicle sometimes to be driving on electric power alone, and the engine is off. And those have proven really popular with consumers. The uptick in adoption for hybrids is increasing, and so I do see that continuing, and that could be a replacement for stop-start technology as people move to hybrids.
Very interesting. And are there any other, big things coming for 2026 that we would be on the lookout for, if you're in the car market?
Well, there still are a lot of new fully electric vehicles that are coming out, and they're coming out at more affordable price points to kind of address the high cost that some electric vehicles as a purchase price have had. We see it with the return of a vehicle like the Chevrolet Bolt, which is back this year, starts at around $29,000, so very affordable. And similarly with the 2026 Nissan Leaf, another electric vehicle that starts around $32,000.
At 29, 32, what's the average right now?
The average price of a new car is approaching $50,000. So these ones are significantly less than that.
Very interesting indeed. What are some other things, I guess, we just had, we have the auto show here. What are some other things that in the car market are really piquing people's interest right now?
Well, there's a big focus still on technology. We see it in the interiors of these vehicles, the way you can connect with your phone in the interiors, the number of screens, also the technology on the safety front and the driver convenience front, with an increase in hands-free driving systems that are being offered on more and more vehicles, one of them being that affordable Chevrolet Bolt I mentioned, that it's an option on that, a hands-free driving system. So really technology spreading from what was once reserved to higher priced luxury vehicles now down into more affordable models.
Now, because a big part of the conversation that we're having about the start-stop ignition comes from people just complaining about it for years, are there any other major complaints from consumers right now that you could see adjusting policy to?
Well, there's definitely been complaints around the prevalence of screens in vehicles for controls that were normally handled by buttons. In some cases, the interior, the center of the dashboard looks like a giant smartphone, and that's not always the easiest way to interact with the vehicle while you're trying to drive and focus on the road too. So less so from, I think, a regulatory standpoint right now, but automakers are responding to consumer wishes for more buttons and tactile controls that used to be in vehicles.
You know what? That is fascinating, because I think about the last time I was in a vehicle where I thought whoa, this screen is massive. I don't even know how you figure all of this out. It did look like just a big computer.
Yeah, and that's the way that they've been moving, especially with electric vehicles and all the technology that's implemented in them. It's only advanced that kind of movement towards the screens in vehicles.
But people want some buttons back.
That's right.
So does that go into the all things old become new again category?
I think it can be, and it's kind of a recognition that some of the ways that people have interacted with cars in the past, there's still there's a reason for that, and it's still a good way to do certain functions.
Okay, as long as we're not rolling up windows manually again, I'm over that. But I think we can take some other adjustments. Thanks so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
All right, take care. I wonder, what some other things, just from those of you all who are watching, what are some other things that commonly come to mind in terms of advancements that you kind of miss some old things in cars? We were talking just a few days ago in the newsroom about the CD deck. kind of miss having CDs. I kind of miss having like a physical copy of the music that I love. I think it made me more invested in it than just like, just clicking, oh, well, I'll stream this. Like actually having a physical copy of something, you kind of like that, kind of miss that. I don't know. I also broke a lot of CDs. But anyhow, let's go to break, 2 minutes, and then we'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. We're now in our 2 o'clock hour here on Chicago Live. Thank you for those of you all who have stayed with us through the first hour, and thanks for everybody who's just starting to tune in here for hour number 2. At some point in time, we anticipate having one of our meteorologists come up to talk a little bit about the fantastic weather we are getting this week. I'm seeing all kinds of runners out, they've been waiting for it, itching for just a little bit of a warm up to get out and enjoy it. And boy, we are getting that this week. It's not warm outside, but it's just warmer than where we've been. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about what we are experiencing and how long we can hold on to it. We're also going to talk about a new push that's happening here locally for an alternative to juvenile detention centers for youth. It's a new effort here, and we're going to talk a little bit about, the trouble that youth can get into and the pathways to brighter tomorrows, quite frankly, in the end. When youth is on your side, if you mess up. So we'll have that probably around 2:30. And shortly, we'll have a conversation about the super site that just opened today downtown and early voting that's now underway here in the city. But first and foremost, we want to get back out to Arizona. This is week 2 that authorities both locally and now federally are on the hunt for Today Show host Savannah Guthrie's mother, Nancy. Week 1 seemed relatively quiet outside of the messages we were getting from family. Week 2, there's movement, but still no Nancy yet. Let's go ahead and bring in Nicole Krishan. Thank you so much. Christine, thank you so much for your time. And please let us know. There's been a lot of activity at the house today. What's going on now? I think you're on mute. Let's try to fix that. I don't know if it's on our end or your end, but I definitely want to be able to hear you. It's Nicole Christine.
How about now? Can you hear me now?
I can, yes. Please go
Okay,
ahead and
perfect.
tell us what's going on out there.
Okay, great. Sorry about that, Anita. Yeah, so we saw some activity this morning. We are here outside of Nancy Guthrie's house. You can see it is quite the media circus continuing. Of course, as you mentioned, day 12 of this search for Nancy Guthrie, and her mailbox in her driveway is right behind me. You can see there's a person over there right now who is, stopping by. There have been people throughout the day. Yellow roses has been the significant flower that people have been bringing. Yellow meant to represent the hope that she will return. But as far as some activity from the investigation side, we did see investigators there this morning. They put up a white tent, and that is the first that we have seen of a tent on the property, at least near the front door. Now, we know, of course, that Nancy was seen, in the area that night. There are different reports, but we believe that she was taken from her home that night. The front porch is where we saw that masked figure from the Nest camera, believed to be a potential abductor in this case. And then, of course, the front porch is also where we saw some of that blood that has since been confirmed to be Nancy's. So a lot of activity on the front porch today, but we couldn't see what was going on necessarily because of the tent. We do know that there was a diagram that one of our Fox reporters saw on scene of some height charts for human height comparisons. And so I think that could potentially be linked to that masked figure that you saw, maybe looking at the physical conditions from the Nest camera and then comparing it to potentially some height, measurements on that front porch. But there was also some video technology that was taken inside the tent that we saw here. So just another layer of investigating that we have seen taking place today. Of course, the Pima County Sheriff's Department, the local county sheriff's department here, is on scene constantly. They've been requested as a kind of security outside of her property. And so we've seen their constant presence. But today, those additional investigators and that tent, pretty significant. I also did want to bring up that there was a request from the local county sheriff's department for video from the time frame of January 1st to February 2nd, a really large time frame that they are asking for video that anyone in the neighborhood in the area can provide. And so they really are asking for the public to continue to help out in this case. And day 12, we still don't know where Nancy Guthrie is or if she's okay, just hoping for her safe return.
Yeah, and in asking for the public's help, let's break down a couple of things. So I believe they have been in a good way, overwhelmed with tips that have been coming in. Can you give us some idea of how much information they've been bombarded with, and especially since that video came out?
Yeah, so we got a report yesterday. So this was as of yesterday afternoon. I'm sure there's probably hundreds, if not thousands, more tips that have come in since then. But 18,000 plus tips that they had received as of yesterday, and 4,000 of those had been since that Nest camera video came through. So over the past 24 hours before yesterday, they saw 4,000 of those 18,000. I'm sure that's only grown since then. We haven't gotten an updated number from the Pima County Sheriff's Department today, but you can imagine all of those tips. We're working to learn more about how the FBI sifts through those tips, how they are able to determine which ones are maybe priority in that. We're going to be learning a little bit more about that today. And you can just imagine just that sheer volume of tips coming in, they have to vet, as well as all of the physical evidence. And you can see that this is it's a beautiful neighborhood. It's called the Catalina Foothills, and it's gorgeous, but it is kind of, the terrain around here is not very conducive to an easy investigation. And so they have been searching quite a bit since this has happened throughout the neighborhood, not just at Nancy's home. About 10 minutes away, Annie Guthrie, Savannah's sister, Nancy's other daughter's home. They've been searching around that neighborhood quite a bit. And the terrain in this area doesn't necessarily help either. And it's so dark here at night. So you imagine this happened in the middle of the night, and it is such a dark, and there's no street lights out here in this beautiful community, but it also means that when investigators are trying to do this, they're trying to sift through those tips. They're trying to, find evidence here on the ground, and they are also trying to navigate, just this desert wilderness, really.
Yeah. And, when you speak about finding things on the ground, at one point they had like a glove last night. Do we know what happened with the glove? Is it being tested? Has it been ruled out as something else? That could have been connected to something else, or is that still a possibility of evidence?
It sure is. And we actually got an update on that today and confirmation from the sheriff's department that there were actually gloves. They used the plural term gloves. We had heard some reports of 2 gloves being found, a pair of gloves. And they did say gloves. They didn't say how many, but more than one today have been sent for analysis. Now, we know that one of those gloves was found about 1.5 miles from Nancy's home. So that was part of a more extensive search of the neighborhood. But it has been sent in for DNA analysis. Sounds like there has been at least one sent in. And so I think that could, help. You saw that there were gloves worn by that masked figure in the Nest camera. Frankly, they look very similar to the gloves that we've seen photographs of being collected, but we can't obviously make that connection, nor can investigators until they test that out and get some more concrete evidence. And I think that really lends itself to the fact that they have this large time period where they're trying to figure out, any vehicles, any pedestrian traffic, things like that are in this area that could maybe indicate an innocent way that glove could have ended up 1.5 miles around here, or maybe something that could be connected to this crime.
Yeah, all of this is just goodness. I can't even imagine. We haven't heard from the family again, have we?
So the only thing that Savannah posted today, which was significant in the emotional toll that it took on everyone who saw it, was some home video clips and a photo from her childhood with Nancy. She referred to her as her lovely mother, said that they would never give up on her. But no words really, other than just that sentiment. So it was an emotional, post to make, but it wasn't anything that was speaking directly to any person or potential abductor. And that is something to note as well. As of Monday, we heard from the FBI saying that they aren't aware of any continued communication between the Guthrie family and any potential kidnappers. We saw that alleged ransom note deadline come and go Monday, 5 o'clock local time here, with no resolution, obviously. We have been seeing some reports from TMZ today that there was an email sent or some sort of communication sent to them from a potential person who knows the potential kidnappers, but of course they're keeping everything very tight to the chest as they work with investigators on this, as they should. So I think right now the message from the family is a little bit more of an emotional one, and that is being echoed with some of the things that we're seeing from the community out here, just the amount of well wishes, religious figurines, and those yellow roses, really trying to drive home the idea that we are hopeful as a community that she will come home and come home safely.
Yeah, the last thing that really stuck with me from hearing from Savannah was we're in our hour of desperation. And that just sat on my heart, still does. It's just a situation no one would want to be in. You mentioned learning today, hoping to learn some things today. Is this in the normal course of reporting and searching for information and asking questions, or is there another press conference that's set up for today?
So we have not heard any news of a press conference at this point. As of today, it has been a week since there has been a press conference for this case. We have gotten what I've been referring to as breadcrumbs every day, really, either from the FBI or from the local sheriff's department. But when it comes to an official press conference, it has been a week ago today that we have heard and been able to ask direct questions in person from Sheriff Nanos or from anyone from the FBI. Now, I will say that when it comes to us trying to learn more, we have a plethora of FBI experts that have since retired, CIA agents that have retired, people who can really give insight into what's going on. And so sometimes we can, as you guys do, obviously over there at Fox 32, you can really, hone in on some of those more vague questions that you might have about, hey, how do you sift through 18,000 plus tips? Hey, what kind of DNA evidence could be found on a glove like that. What would this white tent this morning have been used for? And so we did get an interview with one of those retired FBI agents, and we'll be sharing that in our later newscasts today. And just some insight that not necessarily means that's definitively what's happening in this investigation, but what would typically happen in an investigation like this.
Yeah, it helps all of us, just the average citizen have a window in, at least, into a general investigation of this nature. Thank you so much for your time. Listen, you all are doing a wonderful job reporting on this very tragic situation for this family that they're in right now and have been in now for 2 weeks. And it really does mean a lot to us to be able to call on you all in the midst of a very, very busy situation to get what's happening there in right outside of Tucson.
Of course. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay. Take care. Everybody, it's about 2:15, and it does. We try to look at Fox as a family, and being able to call on our family members in other states when they have big stories that are happening there makes our jobs a lot easier in terms of being able to hear directly from someone who is standing outside of the home that many other people are just seeing on TV. It makes a difference in our overall coverage, so we really do appreciate it. Give us 2 minutes, and we'll be right back with another one of our conversations here on Chicago Live. All right, we're back at about 2:17 right now, and we've got to talk about elections. Tuesday will mark 1 month until the date of primary elections here, and boy, oh boy, we're going to have a lot of conversations between now and then because early voting is already underway as of today. So we want to go ahead and bring in Max Bever with the Chicago Board of Elections. It's been a while since I've seen you, Max, but I'm sure you are busy yet again.
But I'm always happy to join Fox 32.
We appreciate being able to call on you. Tell me how day one with the super site up and running has gone.
Yeah, can you believe that another election is already here? But this is the first day of early voting in downtown Chicago. We've got 2 locations, including our brand new super site over at State and Adams. That's 137 South State Street. So that's new from our old location at Clark and Lake. We've moved just a few blocks away, but we've got a bit more space, a few more machines. We still got that new car smell at our new facility built just for this purpose. So early voting is now live. So if you've made up your mind, go ahead and get a head start on your civic duty. You can come downtown to that location or our board offices at 69 West Washington on the 6th floor.
And when you talk about civic duties, I mean, the obvious one why we have you here is elections, but there's even a piece of it in terms of why you all moved to a new building. Tell us what is happening at the old super site.
The old super site is it's a Secretary of State facility for Real ID, so they're still doing their important duty over there. We've just moved a few blocks down to our new location. You're going to see it with a bunch of new banners in the window. But we're bringing attention to early voting at this moment because we know that the last week, especially that last weekend, the Monday before Election Day, and even Election Day, can often see most of our voters. It gets a little bit crowded. It's a primary election. You're not going to see the same type of lines that you did for the presidential election back in November 2024, but you might still see a lot of people during that last week. So we're urging voters to make a plan to vote now. Go ahead to chicagoelections.gov. You can see your sample ballots. You can pull up whatever information you want, and you can see which ways that you can vote, which is voting by mail, early voting, or voting on Election Day. Whatever your preference is, just make a plan to vote and get that done ahead of time to get that peace of mind. Otherwise, it's going to start getting crowded as we get a little bit closer to Election Day.
Mm-hmm. And of course, we don't want there to be any excuses for people, whether it's the location, the weather, the whatever. That's why we want to have all of these conversations. And this is what we want to have early and often. So tell us, when people are coming out, obviously, 2026, be it a midterm year, as you said, there may not be as many people as a general election, but maybe underscore a little bit more in terms of the numbers you all typically see, the difference between the two that you typically see.
No, I'm glad that you brought that up because primary elections as well as non-presidential years, we don't see the same type of turnout that we do during presidential years. Primary elections themselves, they can be somewhat unpredictable. We can see as low as 16% turnout. We've seen, as high as 36% turnout for our gubernatorial and our midterm primaries, but it really kind of sits somewhere in between 25%. We'd like to really see that number be bumped up this year. We've got some competitive races. We've got an open U.S. Senate seat. We have many important congressional races. So the message that we want to share with your viewers is that your vote really matters, especially in these low turnout elections. So what happens for this primary election is that people are choosing a party ballot. They're nominating those candidates to appear on the November 3rd ballot. So this is really the first step for many of those candidates. But we've got some crowded fields. So your vote, your voice goes a long way in these primary elections for when more people show up in November. So make a plan, research your options, and you've got 3 different party ballot options to choose from. That's Democratic, that's Republican, and that's Libertarian. Unfortunately, we do not have a nonpartisan option this year. We have no citywide questions or any local referendum questions on the ballot. So really, you're going to be looking at all the candidates that are putting themselves out there and asking you to earn their vote.
And there also, I think people get stuck in maybe the big names or the big races, but even like judges. I mean, I think that sometimes we overlook the fact of how consequential those roles are in terms of, again, maybe not the senator, but a judge is very consequential.
Absolutely. We know so much attention's paid off the presidential election, and how can it not be with a lot of the news that's focused on what's coming out of Washington, D.C. or what's happening on a federal level, but it's a lot of the local officials. It's your governor, it's your local congressperson, it's your Cook County commissioner. It's so much of these smaller offices down the ballot, judges like you brought up, that really have a daily effect on your life. So this is the opportunity to get involved in the process, nominate the right people for your your preference to get on that November 3rd ballot. And those are the people that are going to represent you in D.C., they're going to represent you at the state level, at the county level, and at the judicial level. So we know that Chicago ballots can be pretty long, especially when you get to those judicial candidates. But there's many resources out there, many nonpartisan resources that have analysis of these candidates, analysis of these judges. So Google is your friend, ChicagoElections.gov is your friend, many other different organizations that you trust. Make sure that you're doing your research ahead of time and feel comfortable voting for everyone on the ballot. Now, you don't have to vote for everybody, but really, if you're already in the polling place, if you're already in that polling booth, you might as well vote for every office and feel comfortable to do so. You can take a sample ballot with you, you can take your phone with you, you can take any notes with you to help you vote once you get in that polling booth.
Mm-hmm. And outside of the new site, are there any other new things this year?
So that is our new voting super site, but it's really business as usual when it comes down to our elections in Chicago for 2026. We don't have any new machines. We don't have any new things that we need to train voters on. It's going to be the same type of ballot that you've used to be seeing. So once you're ready, get out there and vote. So this is the first step of early voting. We've got our 2 downtown locations open starting today, February 12th. But we have our 50 ward early voting sites that'll be open Monday, March 2nd. This is when we really start to see early voting pick up. Mm-hmm. Our first 2 weeks are probably going to be a little bit soft. A lot of voters are still making up their mind. We know it's a primary election, 33 days away from the election. It's still a lot of time for maybe a candidate to say something that you don't like. But if you feel comfortable, you've got early voting open now downtown. You've got the 50 ward sites that are opening up on March 2nd. And the convenience for our early voters is that you can use any of these sites, no matter where you live in the city. So if you're in the 1st ward and you want to vote in the 50th ward, you can do so during this early voting period. And for our vote by mail voters, once you're getting your ballots, all of our early voting sites have secure drop boxes. So if you're ready to get that ballot back, and there are some recent changes to the postmark system with the U.S. Postal Service, if you're getting that back to one of our secure drop boxes, that's making sure that the board is getting that back that night. We're going to send you that email so you can have that peace of mind that your ballot's going to be counted.
And that was literally the next question, or the next piece of our conversation that I wanted to have when you talk about changes. There were changes in terms of the postmark rules. Talk a little bit more about that, the why behind it and what will now be different.
So there are some changes from our last election cycle. The U.S. Postal Service has come out and recommended that if you are voting by mail, when you return your ballot back through one of those blue mailboxes, they cannot actually promise that that's going to be postmarked that same day. So the Postal Service is recommending that you get your ballot back in the mail at least 1 week before Election Day. That's March 10th. However, us at the Chicago board, we're recommending you get that back even sooner so you've got that peace of mind. Or you can use any of our drop boxes at our early voting sites that will also be open on Election Day. All 50 ward sites, as well as our super site, are going to be open 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. on Election Day to take your vote by mail ballots back if you've gotten that back a bit later, and so you can have that peace of mind of getting it back. This has been somewhat the case with the post office for a while, but this is first time that they're really coming out and saying that if you're returning it back in the mail, give yourself plenty of time. Make sure you're giving yourself at least a week, but preferably a week and a half, 2 weeks if you're getting it back through the mail. Otherwise, use one of the secure drop boxes or take that into your local post office and make sure that you're seeing that postmark being made with your own eyes. This is the way to ensure that your ballot is going to be counted, because that's one of the important rules at the state level, is that that has to have a postmark of when it was received, and it has to be postmarked before March 17th, which is Election Day.
All important information there. And Max, just on a final note, how's staffing for you all?
You know, we're looking pretty good election judge-wise. We need 6,500 election judges for Election Day to run smoothly. We actually have just over 6,000 that have applied, with over 1,300 of those as our high school students. We're very excited by that. We always have a very strong contingency of our judges who are high school students. They're very excited to be there. They're very tech-savvy. So it's between our students and a lot of our seniors that are staffing our places, and we thank them for our service. However, we always need more judges. voters. We want to get ahead of people who might not be able to make it for election days or no shows on election days. So if you're able to serve on March 17th, we could use your help. Go to pollworker.chicagoelections.gov, and you can make up to $230 for the day for your service. So we always need some more judges and standby judges. Go to pollworker.chicagoelections.gov to sign up.
And listen, we were talking about the vote by mail and the new, recommendations from USPS. I want to circle back onto that just to, see if you can weigh in, because the Trump administration does look directly at Illinois and the fact that it needs to be postmarked by a certain date, but it can come back well after that, and wanting to make those more changes there. Can you give us your thoughts on that?
Certainly. So there have been no major changes to the Illinois election code. Every state has their own specific laws when it comes to how they handle their elections. And in Illinois, we have over 108 election authorities, so everyone's got their own openings and they've got their own specifications. But here in the city of Chicago, we follow the same rules that everybody else does in Illinois, which is there is a 2-week counting period after Election Day for vote-by-mail ballots that are coming back with that proper postmark. So that's a lot of people that have waited maybe a little bit too close to Election Day. Those ballots are coming back, and they take a few days to be processed. But this 2-week counting period is also for our military and our overseas voters. That's taking some extra time for different postal services across the globe for those ballots to come back. So this is an important 2-week period where we're making sure that our military and our overseas voters' ballots are getting back to us in a timely manner, because sometimes that can be a bit delayed. Now, I think over the last 5, maybe even 6 years, we've been getting used to a lot more of these postal service delays. It's just kind of the nature of the beast at this moment. But that's why the post office has come out and given this warning, and that we're sharing this information too, which is that if you're using the mail, make sure you're giving yourself at least a week time to get that ballot back. Or better yet, if you can, use any of the secure drop boxes in the city. And if you are somebody who can't take that back in person, somebody else can take that back for you, as long as you've signed the appropriate box on your ballot return envelope. This is also an increasingly popular way for our vote-by-mail voters to get their ballots back. For the November 2024 election, we had nearly 48% of our voters use our secure drop boxes. So we know that people know where they're at and know that this is a safety net option for them. So if you're a vote-by-mail voter, you're getting that ballot back a little bit later, or that you requested that ballot back a little bit late, please go to our website at chicagoelections.gov, check out any of our secure Dropbox site locations, and then return that to those locations. Give yourself that peace of mind. You're going to get that return back to the board the same day.
Max Bever with the Chicago Board of Elections. We are now fully in election season. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
All right, take care. I'm sure we'll be calling you back soon. It's just a busy time, and it's an important time, everyone. Again, mark that date on your calendar, March 17th. And if you don't want to wait until then, you can already start the process now. Go ahead, weigh in for the primaries in March. Early voting is already underway downtown at the super site. These ballots matter. You matter. So make sure you're weighing in. 2:30, let's take a quick break, 2 minutes, and we'll be right back. All right, welcome back, everyone. 2:33 right now. Let's take a look at how things are shaping up on Wall Street today. The big board, oh, goodness. Similar to yesterday, it's a mixed bag. We started off in the green and quickly took a dip down into the red, and that's where we have stayed for quite some time here. So looks like this is office real estate stocks that have been tumbling as AI disruption casualties in the stock market grow by the day. That's a part of what's going on here. Just kind of looking at the overall picture. So investors, it looks like, have been worried about a negative side of AI. It's a growing conversation in pretty much every field here, but they're looking at it from a standpoint of threatening to disrupt business models of whole industries and raising unemployment. Obviously, we had a jobs report that came out this week, and it was good in many areas. Not overall, but good in many areas. The overall headline was good, but there are some areas that were of great concern for many of the investors, many economists as well. We had one of our economists from Challenger and Gray that was on with us as that jobs report came out. So you can see here, as of right now, we are down more than 500 points for the Dow Jones. Let's see here. Also, for the S&P 500, we've dropped 1%. The NASDAQ composite has dropped 1.6% thus far today. And again, a lot of this is pointing back to AI, even though we had an overall strong jobs report that came out, but just concern over maybe have things gone too far too fast, essentially, when it comes to AI. So there was some rallying, as you could see at the beginning of the day, similar to yesterday. Yesterday seemed to be more volatile, a lot of highs and lows throughout the day. The day ended down, but a lot more highs and lows today. We have been in the red for a sustained period of time here. So obviously this is something we're going to continue to watch here. They're bracing, I'm seeing. Some of the traders are bracing for a key inflation report that should come out tomorrow. Okay, keep that in your minds. Big inflation report that should come out tomorrow that they're hoping obviously will give us some more direction, maybe paired with the jobs report that came out this week into the overall picture of the economy. So we'll see. The January CPI showed some growth there. But again, there's some room for concern, and that's what we're seeing here. It looks like from investors there, even though we had an overall strong jobs report, waiting on a key inflation report tomorrow, and in between a lot of negative numbers there on your screen, again, for the Dow Jones, for the NASDAQ, and for the S&P 500 as of right now. We'll see if that changes, but that's where we are. Not too much more time before things close for the day, so they'd have quite a ways to come up, but it's not unheard of that it could take a wild swing. But right now, again, sitting down more than 500 points for the Dow Jones, with just a little more than an hour to go before it closes for the day. It's 2:37, and so again, we're going to keep our eyes on this. If there is, let's say, a major swing, we will definitely report that to you. If it closes down, I mean, this is kind of what we're looking at here, and if it closes down, that's just where we are for the day. We'll hope for better news for the key index tomorrow, but if we get a big swing, if there is some breaking news there, I'll make sure to report that to you. Let's take a quick break though at 2:38, and give us about 2 minutes. We'll be right back. We're back at 2:40 right now with a really important discussion about juveniles in our area that get into some trouble along the way, and what should happen to give them an opportunity to turn their lives around. The Cook County State's Attorney's Office is now partnering with several others to launch an alternative to a detention program for youth. And Tracy Seneca, who is the chief of the Juvenile Justice Bureau, is joining me now to talk a little bit more about it. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Let's first just talk about why a program like this, why an opportunity like this would be necessary. Why would a juvenile be treated differently or have a different opportunity than an adult?
Well, there are many differences between the juvenile justice system and adult court. And in this case, we feel that this program is an alternative to detention. So oftentimes youth are held in custody or detained prior to their case going to trial. And this is an alternative to that detention. We know that youth do not excel when they are incarcerated. They are pulled from their support systems and they are detained. And this offers an alternative to that. It allows the youth to remain in their communities while their cases are pending pre-trial. And instead of being incarcerated, there are two components to this program. So the youth involved will be required to attend school. And the second component, which is incredibly important, is in their very own communities. It's that they will be provided services through community-based providers, and those services will be made up of cognitive behavioral therapy, as well as mentorship, as well as other pro-social activities that will allow these youth to stay in their communities, to stay with their support systems. So we are setting them up for success while their cases are pending. We are intervening early and providing them services to address the issues that brought them into the system.
Is it also to prevent them from continuing to be in the system long term? So with intervention like this at a young age, is the hope that then they wouldn't be in the system long term?
Absolutely. Our goal in juvenile court is always to provide services to the youth that come into the system to keep them out of the system in the future. It is to address the issues that they have. It is to address not only their issues, but their family issues as well. There could be housing insecurity, there could be food insecurities. The community-based organizations that we have partnered with for this pilot are embedded in the communities, and they are aware of other service providers that can help not only the youth, but the youth's family as well. And providing all of these wraparound services gives the youth a much better chance of avoiding coming back into the system either as a juvenile or as an adult, and that is the ultimate goal.
Some would argue that maybe their environment is what caused them to end up in the system. Does returning them to it help them?
Well, typically what happens is that a youth is detained for a short period of time pre-trial and then ultimately put right back into the same situation that got them sort of into the system to start with. So by front-loading services for these youth and providing them with opportunities within their community to get the services they need, we're not just returning them to their communities, but instead we're providing them with help and services that are specifically going to be addressing the issues that brought them into court. And in addition to that, these youth will be assessed to determine what their goals are, what their needs are, and they'll be provided services to address those as well. So we're definitely setting them up for success by giving them the support that they need to remain in their communities while their cases are pending and address the issues that they may be dealing with.
Mm-hmm. It's a pilot program. Did you all look at another state or another area to base this off of where they did it successfully?
This is a unique pilot. I'm not aware that there are other states that are doing exactly this. There are cases right now where youth get pretrial services, but this specific pilot has not just random pretrial services, so to speak, but specifically the cognitive behavioral therapy as well as the mentorship. We believe that might be the secret sauce to really helping these youth, and we're hopeful that they're going to get what they need with the community-based providers as well as the educational component. So these youth will not be out on the streets or out in the community during the day or after school. They will be engaged in necessary educational programming as well as community-based programming to address whatever issues they may be having. So it is unique in that way. And we've had a lot of collaboration from our juvenile justice stakeholders as well as outside agencies like the Justice Advisory Council and the Staines Family Foundation. So we're confident that with all of us pulling in the same direction, we'll really be able to make a difference in the lives of these youth and keep our community safe while we're doing it.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about your partnership next. And so you mentioned some of those who you are working with in this effort. Tell me why these specific partners and how they factor into the whole.
Absolutely. So the two community-based providers that we are using for this pilot are the Firehouse Center for the Arts in North Lawndale and New Life in Pilsen. And these community-based organizations were selected because they are embedded in their communities. They've been around for a long time. They have existing relationships with the juvenile justice stakeholders, with the judges, with the public defenders, with our probation unit. They do great work, and they're so embedded in the communities that they have existing relationships with other service providers that can help the youth and their family really be successful. So they are at the heart of this pilot program, are these two organizations.
Yeah, that Firehouse Center for Arts is amazing, what they're able to do there and the opportunities that they provide. Tell me a little bit about the funding for this.
So the funding came through the Justice Advisory Council as well as the Staines Family Foundation. So we have support from private entities that are helping get us off the ground with this pilot, and we're excited to see what the outcomes will be.
Mm-hmm. And when we say pilot, I mean, how long is the pilot, the initial pilot, before you know, hey, we want to keep this around?
Well, we're looking at a year to start with, and we have small numbers coming in, but we are going to be engaging with a program evaluator, an academic partner that's going to be looking at all of these statistics and data related to the pilot to really be able to tell us what is working and what we might need to change or tweak before we go from a pilot to a full-on program.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that'll be so instrumental for obvious reasons to be able to evaluate it and see what were the successes of it, where can you do even better. And again, ultimately, it's better for all of us in the end to help youth on the front end before they're adults that have maybe greater issues. Let me ask you also, when you have spoken about this particular program, like why now? Why start this now?
Well, I think we're all aware of the growing trend of youth committing more and more serious crimes, and the offense type has escalated and the number of cases that the youth are picking up have increased. So we were really looking at what is going to be impactful and what is going to make a difference to stop these trends from growing. So the concept of the cognitive behavioral therapy, the mentorship, and the educational component, we feel will have the greatest impact in reducing the number of violent crimes youth are committing and the escalation in violence of those crimes.
And how will you decide who's eligible, which youth are eligible?
So this pilot is being launched in the 10th Police District area. So youth who commit offenses who live in that district will be part of this pilot program. And we are including serious offenses where we would otherwise be asking for detention. We feel confident that the nature of the program with the school and community-based organization components will provide the necessary oversight for the youth to make sure that our communities remain safe while they're going through this program.
Well, let's certainly hope that it turns some lives around. I'll definitely hope that we get some updates along the way. Thank you so much for making some time for us today.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. It's about 2:50, everyone. It will really be interesting to see some data at that year-end point to see how successful it is and whether it's something that can stick around for a while. Only time will tell. Let's take a quick break, 2 minutes, and I believe, yes, our chief meteorologist just walked in, so we're going to bring her in and talk a little bit about the conditions outside. The chief is here, and we can hear now. So tell us about what we can expect. I mean, the temperatures outside, I keep saying, I want to use the word warm. It's not warm,
it's
okay?
mild.
But it's warmer than we've been.
Warmer than we've been. Out there today, we're sitting in the mid to upper 30s for a lot of spots, so it's still definitely cold.
Yeah.
You can say that it's cold, but average for this time of the year, that's what always kind of gives us our perspective on whether we can be happy about that. You know, what range of cold are we in here? But
there are levels to this.
Yes, we're slightly above average today, but you know, we're moving in the right direction. The next couple of days, we are really warming up in a big way. Today, we have a little bit more in the way of cloud cover, so that's been playing a pretty large role in how much we're able to heat up today. So that's why temperatures, we haven't seen a huge warm up since this morning, but tomorrow, different story, girl.
Okay.
It's going to be so nice outside.
We're ready.
We are looking at temperatures that are going to be near 50 degrees on Friday. I think we keep that going right on through the weekend. Low 50s expected Saturday and Sunday. Next week, I'm still eyeing up at least the chance of a 60.
Man.
Do I think it's going to happen in Chicago? No, I do not.
Okay.
But
darn Lake Michigan.
Yes, but I do think that, you know, places across the far west, southwest, think places like DeKalb County, Kane County, LaSalle County, you know, we've got a shot. It's going to be very, very warm here. But
the fact that we're looking at this board right now, and everything starts with a 5.
Isn't it beautiful? It really is nice.
It's the little things.
These are the types of forecasts that I really do love putting together because it makes people happy.
Yeah.
And people, we're always talking about the weather, right? You know, that's everybody's go-to when it comes to small talk.
Yeah.
And it's all good news right now. So it's been really, really nice. And this weekend, of course, we have Valentine's Day on Saturday. Temperatures, if you have plans during the morning, maybe you're doing a breakfast or a brunch, we're still going to be in the 30s in the morning, so there will be a chill in the air. But during the afternoon, things look wonderful, 51 degrees. And you know, in Chicago, we're pretty tough. I wouldn't be surprised especially as we get into next week when we're in mid to upper 50s, if we start seeing those daring folks bringing out some of the patio furniture, that always happens whenever we have these brief little stints of warmer weather. So I'm interested to see if it actually happens.
Everyone's so eager.
Yes.
I've already just started to see more people out and about,
Yeah, and I can say just from my own perspective, today I doubled my walk that I normally do because it felt so nice to be outside and not be freezing, right?
Yeah.
The dog parks, busy again.
Yeah.
People actually spending time outside rather than just like taking their dogs out for the business and that's it.
Like, go do it, come back.
Yeah, you can just tell that everybody's, I think we're coming back alive with this, and it's only going to get better over the next couple of days.
Yeah, it's just, it's giving us more hope for spring, that we're almost there.
Yep.
And no excuses for this weekend, everybody. Get out and do something.
Yeah.
Whether you're celebrating yourself or you're celebrating someone else.
That's right. And average, again, we've talked about this quite a few times, mid-30s. It looks like we're staying above average all the way through the end of the month of February. Does that mean 50s are going to stick around till the end of February? I'm not buying that yet. I do think we're going to have a cool down sometime mid to late next week.
Okay.
So by Thursday, Friday, I think we're going to see those temperatures take a little bit of a dive on the backside of a storm system that's coming through. But it doesn't look like it's going to be bitter cold.
Yeah.
It's just normal February cold, so we can handle that.
And it's the glimpses of glory that keep us happy. You know, I mean, even if there's a little dip, it's the glimpses of glory that have us all like, oh, we're almost there. We're almost there.
And if you think back to December and January, there were not many glimpses of hope that we were ever going to get out of those.
It was more like
deep freeze temperatures.
when.
Yeah, I believe we went 19 days in a row of seeing temperatures below freezing. That's a long stint to not get above 32 degrees.
Yeah. Is tomorrow National Weather Person's Day?
No, you missed it.
I did.
You did. Nobody at work even told me about it.
Oh my gosh!
I was sad. It was earlier this week.
Was it?
I accept late apologies.
Well, we love you.
Oh, I know.
And especially with a forecast like this.
I made myself.
That's really
cake
where
anyway.
I was going. Oh. You had to make your own self.
That's okay. That's
Sorry.
okay. There's always next year.
I will do better with putting a reminder on my phone for next year.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, give us 2 minutes. We'll hug it out a little bit more, and then we'll be back with our 3 o'clock hour. welcome back here to Chicago Live in our final hour for this Thursday, everybody. Let me tell you a little bit about what you can expect in this hour. Before we put you over to First at 4, we're going to have a great conversation about an opportunity to really do something special for the seniors in your life, the veterans in your life for Valentine's Day. So that's coming up around 3:45. We're also going to talk around 3:30 with our own Casey Cronus. She's working on a story today about a billboard that has a lot of people talking, not just about its message, but about safety concerns. So she's on that story today. We're going to pull her up for that. And then maybe around 3:15 or so, we're going to bring in Dawn Hasbrook. It'll be her first time here with us for Chicago Live, as she's working on a special report today about Black restaurants in the city. There are so many, and this week in particular is one to highlight them. Make sure you're getting to some great new places, trying out some good food. So she's going to come up and give us the details of her special report that's airing this evening. But first, we're often talking about trends and new things that are happening both here in the city of Chicago, throughout Chicagoland, in the state, and well beyond. Well, there is a trend that has become more and more popular throughout the country that's now expanding here into Illinois, and we're going to talk more about it now with Tom Harries. He is the CEO for Earth Funerals. Thank you so much for your time. Tom, I can't hear you. I don't know if that's on our end or yours. I can hear you now.
Perfect. I think that was on your end, but okay. I'm here now. Thanks for having me, Anita.
And we appreciate having you here. Tell me a little bit about what you all do. I don't think most people know, especially here in Illinois. I mean, it's new here in Illinois, but tell us about what you do and how it's different from what's been done before.
Yeah, sure. So we are a licensed funeral home, but we are a licensed funeral home with a twist. And our twist is, instead of offering burial or cremation services, we are transforming bodies into nutrient-rich soil. So this is an earth-friendly alternative to some of the traditional options. And it's a 30-day process, at the end of which you are left with soil instead of, let's say, cremated remains. And it's really cool because soil is much more accessible than cremated remains. So you can plant it. Maybe it's a tree. Maybe it's a potted plant. Maybe it's a memorial garden, something that commemorates your loved one. You can scatter the soil, maybe in a meaningful place that you used to share or visit with your loved one. And then any remaining soil you don't wish to keep, you can donate to conservation projects. So you can support land restoration, you can support reforestation. And people like it because it's this gentle, natural process that offers a return to nature.
Really interesting and moving. I would love to know more about the reaction you've gotten from families who have made the decision to use your services.
Yeah, Anita, the people that choose this process really believe in it. And people choose it for all sorts of reasons. The primary reason we would say is it offers a return to nature. So whether you're into hunting, whether you're into fishing, whether you're into farming, whether you're into hiking, whether you want to do something that's perhaps a little bit better for the environment, this offers that opportunity. People in particular love what they are able to do with the soil. Again, as I say, you can keep it, you can scatter it, you can plant it, you can donate it to something meaningful in terms of land restoration. So it offers a third choice alongside the more traditional options. So the response has been really positive.
Mm-hmm. And when you say positive, obviously families mourn their relatives differently. So talk a little bit about the importance of giving more options to families.
Yeah. What I think is really interesting is we've only really ever had two options. And the two options are, they don't appeal to everyone. Not everyone wants to be embalmed and buried. Not everyone wants to be cremated. and turned into ash. So this is really about consumer choice. At the moment, families have to travel to different states to undergo this process. To me, that's one, inconvenient, but two, really demonstrates how much people resonate and want this process. So we think it's a meaningful third option. It's a gentle, natural process. It's better for the environment. And as I said, it offers this return to nature that the traditional options don't offer.
Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of people have moved away from traditional funerals and burials in favor of cremation because of the cost. Can you talk to the cost of this particular service?
Yeah. So one of the reasons burial has become so expensive is it takes up a lot of land at this point. So burial spots have become increasingly price prohibitive for a lot of people. So you're completely right to say that that's led to an increase in the rise of cremation. Our cost is around $5,000. So really not that much different to a direct cremation. I think there's a full range of prices as with any product or service, but we are pretty in line with national averages in terms of funeral cost, cremation cost. Burial, of course, is considerably more expensive than that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what would be some of the things that would increase the cost from what is a baseline? What would be the services added?
Yeah. So the beauty of working with Earth is, and I don't speak for everyone here, but we offer one very simple package that includes everything that a family needs. So in the instance of Earth, there's actually not really that much that you would add on to this. Everything is included in our package. You might like some death certificates. You're going to need those to close out bank accounts and claim insurance policies and all the sort of admin that comes with end-of-life care. But there are no hidden fees. It's very price transparent, and everything is included in our price.
Well, this is certainly interesting. I mean, how long have you all been around? How long have you been doing this, and where did the idea come from?
Yeah, so we launched in 2020. The first several years we're developing the technology. This is a science and technology driven process. There's been a ton of testing and data behind it, so we know it's safe for people and plants and animals, etc. And the idea came from my perspective, from having been in the traditional industry before this. And we had a cremation provider, one of the larger cremation providers in the US. And one of the most frequently asked questions was, how can I become a tree once I've been cremated? And the simple answer is you can't really. And actually cremated remains are pretty pollutive more than anything to the environment. And you're more likely to kill a tree than help a tree grow with cremated remains. So this was a nascent concept that we saw. It resonated with us personally. Maybe you think we're completely weird, but I don't think we're all that weird. And we thought if we like it, other people might like it too. And that's really borne out to be true. We've worked with close to 10,000 families now. And people also really like to pre-plan and prepay this for themselves. So yeah, it's proven popular.
Yeah, I don't think it's weird at all. It's unconventional for sure. It is unconventional, but I don't think it's weird. Like I said, I think moving in its own way, you do often hear about people who, especially when it comes to cremation, want their ashes scattered in certain places for certain reasons, whether it's the water or on certain soil. Somebody maybe I think I had a story before of a family where the person had never been overseas before. And so they made a trip after the person passed to scatter their ashes overseas so that they would finally be overseas. So yeah, it's untraditional maybe what you're doing, but I wouldn't call it weird at all. I think it's very interesting, and you're answering the question that people have asked you over the years.
Exactly, and instead of not traditional or unconventional, I just say it's new. Cremation once upon a time was new. but people become increasingly aware of it. People choose it for one reason or the other. And we completely believe the same is going to happen here. The more people learn about this process, the better they understand it. They actually quite like it. So we think it's new, but we think it's going to increase in popularity over time and increase in popularity quickly.
Mm-hmm. What was the process like getting it to Illinois?
Yeah, so Illinois, in terms of how we work in Illinois, we are a funeral director. We have a licensed Illinois funeral director. So what that means is we are able to legally work with families in Illinois. That is either when you need the service now, or whether you're planning and preparing for the future. What we're not allowed to do in Illinois just yet is open a facility. And there's actually a bill being run in Illinois this year that's being sponsored by Representative Mary Beth Canty. And this would allow families in Illinois to choose the process in state. And what that is avoiding is families having to transport loved ones to neighboring states, or in the case of Illinois, transport them to the West Coast to undergo this process. So it's not here just yet, but we're hoping this might be the year that the bill is passed.
Okay, so very interesting to note that right now you are legally allowed to interact with families as a funeral director in the state of Illinois, but the body would still have to be shipped to another state for this process to be done.
That is correct. So this process has been legalized in 14 states. Illinois has not yet become one of those states. We think this might be the year where it does. And it's really sweet, actually. The bill is being informally referred to as Kathleen's bill this year. This is in honor of an Illinois lady who recently died and was transported to Washington State to undergo this process. And we're generally of the opinion that if you want this process, you shouldn't have to travel for it. You should be able to choose somewhere that's 10, 20, 30, 40 miles away from you. You certainly should not have to be flown to the other side of the country. So that is the point of the bill this year, is to allow people in Illinois to choose somewhere closer to home.
Well, yeah, I mean, that goes into the added costs there that would be outside of the package for the actual services, would be moving the body multiple times, I guess. So yeah, that's very important to note there, but maybe things will change. So it's in this legislative process?
Yes, correct. This year, it's currently a House bill. Assuming it passes the House, it would then go to the Senate. But yeah, recently introduced, and we are hopeful that this might be the year because people in Illinois want it. We see this every single day. We see the consumer demand. And broadly, we believe this is a consumer choice issue. If you want this, you should have it locally. You should not have to travel for it.
Okay. All right. Well, please keep us updated. It'll be very interesting to see how this goes. And the whether it sails through smoothly or whether there are some hiccups along the way, and what those could be.
Yes, it remains to be seen, but we are crossing our fingers. And thank you, Anita.
I'm sure you are. Okay, thank you for your time as well. 3:13, everyone. Give us 2 minutes. Our own Dawn Hasbrook just walked in the Studio 32. We're going to bring her in just a moment. right, welcome back, everyone. 316 and our own Dawn Hasbrook is here. Love having you here today on Chicago Live for our first time.
Yeah,
won't be the last
I did
time.
It a long time ago.
Okay.
Yeah. First time with you.
First time with me.
It's a joy.
Yes. Good to have you here, and for such a purpose as this, right?
Yeah.
So you have a special report on Black Restaurant Week,
Yes.
which we are in the midst of right now
We
here in
are.
the city.
Yeah, it started February 8th. So I've been trying to coordinate with different chefs at different restaurants to interview them all, but we finally got them all together.
Ooh.
But what was interesting about it is I also asked the founder. I didn't realize how long it had been around. So a woman by the name of Lauren Smith, a Chicagoan, and we got to talking and realized that we grew up in church together, which is really funny. But anyway, she founded it, and she decided that she wanted to support Black restaurants. She loved to go eat, and she thought that she should bring them all together on one list. So it started small, and now it's grown to like 40 restaurants. And she said what's great about it is some of them have now multiple locations, so they've been very successful. And she said, and a lot of them you don't even realize are Black owned.
Yeah.
Because, you know, like I just pulled a couple out randomly that I wanted to go interview. One's in Logan Square, one's in Lincoln Park.
Yeah.
It's not where you would necessarily think they are.
Yeah. You don't have to go to the South Side.
You do not have to go to the South Side. One, the Duplex, for example, I interviewed him. And I said, you know, what does it feel like to be a Black-owned restaurant in Logan Square? He's like, I'm the only Black-owned restaurant. I'm like, wow. And he's been around like 3 or 4 years, maybe more. I also went to Soul Prime in Lincoln Park.
Yeah.
She's been around for 3 years.
Yeah.
Little small place, super successed.
Went viral.
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple of times now.
Because of the guy on, what was it, TikTok?
Yeah.
Or he went to visit. But it's been 11 years now, and the list is growing. So it's wonderful to see. And so what was significant about this year is that Black History Month has been celebrated now for 100 years.
Yeah. Started right here in Chicago.
Started here in Chicago as Negro Week, Negro History Week, essentially, and now it's become Black History Month. And so when she founded it, Lauren, she said she decided that she wanted it to fall during that time.
Yeah.
And so it's just so significant now because they're going to have like special menu items. And so if you haven't ever done Black Restaurant Week or even Restaurant Week in Chicago, it's great because you don't have to spend all the money to eat at these places you wouldn't necessarily go to.
Good discounts.
Great discounts, price fixed menus, you know, you can sample things. So for example, there's a restaurant in the South Loop called the Southern that's Black owned that just opened. And, you know, they have a lot of different items and a lot of different prices. But my mom, for example, went with her girlfriends and did the price fix. And, you know, normally you might get 4 deviled eggs on the appetizer. This time it was 2, you know, but you get to sample those things. And
it's to bring you back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it'll range between $45 and $60 depending on the restaurant. And the idea is, like you said, to have people come back. So they just want to give you a sample. And in some cases, I'll give you a tip. They may not necessarily tell you it's Restaurant Week, at least when it was, you know, and so you have to ask for the special menu. I will say that sometimes. But my story will air tonight at 5. They're bringing it a little bit early. It was going to air at 9, so they wanted to air at 5 and at 9. So you'll get to see some of the food, and it's just amazing, the pictures.
Now, how many chefs were you able to get on this? Because there are a ton of restaurants on the list.
There are so many. I got 2, and then I got the founder. So we just shot it all in like 4 hours. And then I had to get back to do the 9 p.m. newscast. But I wish that I could have done more. I really want to go back out and talk to more of them, you know, if they'll allow me, because there's so many people. Like, for example, I was listening to the radio and heard a restaurant that I had never heard of. It's called St. Patrick's. It's in Dalton. Multi-level restaurant, I hear, with a rooftop, and it's a steakhouse.
I saw it on Instagram.
Did you?
And I had that same like, oh, it's St. Patrick's.
Yes.
But yes, it's a Black-owned restaurant.
Yep, there's another one at Homewood Flossmoor. So, you know, my point is there are so many that we don't even realize. Then there are a couple of new ones. I grew up in Hyde Park. I still haven't been to. One is called Mahari.
Yes, it's on my list.
Yes, and one is called Struggle Beard Bakery. And those are 2 new restaurants in Hyde Park that I hadn't even been to yet, but they're now and new on the list. So there's so many to explore. The website is shyblackrestaurantweek.com.
And I think, you know, I mean, obviously it's great that we have this week to highlight the restaurants, but to your point, listen, I like to star the list because it goes way beyond 1 week. I mean, you wouldn't even be able to make it to all of them in 1 week anyway.
No.
So add a few like this week, but star the whole list and make a point of going throughout the year.
Yes, it goes through February 22nd, so you have a lot of time. Oh, and by the way, it is nearly impossible to get a reservation this weekend. In case you haven't heard, it's
For a few
Valentine's
reasons,
Day. But it's funny, you know, I was just looking into some of them, not necessarily these restaurants, but just in general.
Yeah.
And Saturday is really booked up. And I'm sure it's
Like
because,
everywhere.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's because of the weather too. People
Yeah.
want to get out. So then I checked Friday because,
Uh-huh.
well, no, that's bad too. But you know, this is a good opportunity to support some of the Black-owned restaurants because they may not all be booked.
Yeah.
You know, so you should just check. But it's a busy weekend, and it's going to be great weather. So this is a great time to go out, and then just check out some of the ones on the list during the week when it's not as crowded, and you will have some great food. I asked the founder, and she's like, everybody likes to go eat. She said, grab your cronies and just eat. We just want you to eat. That's how she ended it, you know?
And I think too, there are many that specialize in different things too. So like there are some where you'll want to go for dinner, some where you'll want to go for brunch, you know?
Speaking of that, the Duplex, you know, when I was listening to his menu, I've been one time for brunch. And I was listening to his menu, and he's talking about tortellini and like all these different things for dinner. And I'm like, wait a minute. I've gone when it's shrimp, grits, French toast, a DJ. So they're so versatile, like the menus. So it's by the way, the Duplex has a vibe. You know, they have a DJ on Saturdays and Sundays for brunch. But then he also has an elevated dinner menu for Black Restaurant Week. So it's great. He has lobster on there and all kinds of things.
And I think one of the things, you know, we were highlighting LaGrange Restaurant Week yesterday, and I think one of the things that you hear through and through, it is tough. I mean, this is a foodie city, but these restaurant weeks really come in handy for the bottom line of these restaurants.
Yes, and that's what she was saying. Lauren said it's just important to support them because she noticed way back 11 years ago that it was a struggle. And so she wanted to at least get them on some sort of list altogether. So I was even asking her, well, have you been here? And she's like, nope, I haven't been there yet. So she's going to reach out and just add them to the list because she said it does help. And like I mentioned, you know, they've grown. Some of the restaurants have grown to more than one location. So it really has helped. And everybody, it doesn't matter where you come from, where you live, everybody wants a deal. So it's nice, you know, and it's not necessarily, you don't have to want a certain cuisine. It runs the gamut. I mean, every kind of food you can imagine. Just because it's Black owned doesn't mean it's not an Italian food restaurant, or, you know, it doesn't have to be a soul food restaurant. It could be a seafood, a steakhouse, you know? So that's what's nice about the list.
Chemistry, steakhouse, Black owned steakhouse in Hyde Park. Okay, so here's maybe the hardest part. I'm going to take you through the different meals, and I want you to give me your faves. Your fave Black owned restaurant for breakfast.
I just tried, I'm going to do the ones that I've recently tried. I just tried Brulee.
Oh, yeah.
Brand new in the South Loop. It was great. Of course, I went for breakfast and ordered a dinner item, which was catfish. And then I had sweet potatoes with it and greens.
That's just a Southern breakfast.
But my friend who works at another station had breakfast food and loved it.
Okay, brunch.
Okay, brunch. I love the Duplex because of the vibe. Lunch, that's a tough one. Lunch. I don't know that I've been to one for lunch because I'm usually here or on the way here.
All right, dinner.
Dinner, I loved Soul Prime, but I just had some. She was bringing out all these items, and I'm like, okay, I'll try that. I'll try that.
Keith Lee was the one who went to her restaurant.
It was Keith Lee. So what's funny about Soul Prime is she does things so differently. I asked her history, and she said that she just loved cooking for people, and she had a smaller place. Then she was doing pop-ups, and then she decided to open. Soul Prime is small, so you have to make a reservation. But I went once, and she makes a Bloody Mary with a chicken wing stuck on top of it. And then she makes chicken wings, obviously, with hot honey sauce, and it was so delicious. Their dinner is great. I don't know that this is on the menu, on the Shy Restaurant Week list, I should say, but Pearls is very good. That's another one. It's a standard. It's a standard, and it's great for catering. I catered Thanksgiving once, and the total for 5 people, and I had everything on the Thanksgiving menu, and it was like a couple $100, you know, and the food is great.
Yeah.
And I even told our chief meteorologist, Emily Walls, to get that for Thanksgiving. So there's so many, but now I'm going to have to think of lunch, though, because gosh, I've been to a few. But I told you about the Southern and the South Loop.
I went to Southern for Christmas.
Oh, you did?
Christmas.
Isn't it beautiful in there?
It's gorgeous in there. The food is wonderful. And just a good opportunity to kind of get out. Oh, I didn't think, you know, for a holiday, you're like, well, who's going to be open? You know, and we ended up here. So it was they're open for, well, let's go for Christmas. Let's put on our red and green and go on over there.
Now I'm scanning the city to think of all the places that I've been. So everybody has been to Virtue. He's not on the Shy Restaurant Week list, Shy Black Restaurant Week list, but that's a good one. And he owns a few in Hyde Park.
Several folks who are doing wonderful things, and I love the fact that he has such mentoring opportunities too. So there are several other chefs in the area who credit him directly for their rise too. I think this is wonderful. I think it's about community. It's about helping these restaurants' bottom line. It's about celebrating the history, and you tie it all in tonight.
And I was asking her, you know, Lauren, the founder, I said, well, how do you make money from this? And she's like, it's really not my thing. I just did it to help out. I did see on her website, so I'll plug it because I think she's doing a great thing, and she has T-shirts and sweatshirts for sale, and that's probably how she does it. But I think it's great that she supports these restaurants.
And support should be cyclical. That's a way to help her.
We want to support her. It's great.
Well, great having you up here. Can't wait to see the finished product. You know, once it's all put together, I'm sure it's going to look delicious.
Yes, it's going to make you hungry, and it's going to make you go directly to the website, ShyBlackRestaurantWeek.com.
Thank you. We'll see it at 5 o'clock, everybody. Give us 2 minutes. We'll be right back. right, welcome back, everyone. 3:31 right now, and our next conversation puts a whole new spin on distracted driving, okay? There is a billboard in our area that's causing a lot of concern, and I want to go ahead and bring in Casey Cronus, who's working on this story today. You've been out to see it, right?
Hi, Anita. We are right in front of the sign now. It's across the street, so you'll get a live look at it when you tune in at 4 o'clock. But I did take a picture of it. I'll show you. As you can see, it's a black and yellow sign that says free burrito, but it's not the words that are the concern for some residents and drivers in the area. It's that massive QR code that is next to that ad for a free burrito. This has been gaining traction online. We spotted the post on Reddit, and that's what brought us out here to see it for ourselves. It's located at Elston and Damon. So if you're driving south over the Damon Avenue Bridge that crosses over the Chicago River, you will have a clear sight of this billboard. We did talk to the alderman today, who says he did reach out to the Chicago Department of Transportation to look into this and find out if it is causing issues for drivers. And if you're wondering, well, what happens if you scan it? Is this legitimate? I did scan it. It takes you to a restaurant called Guzman y Gomez, a local Mexican chain. They've got 8 locations in the Chicago area. And yes, the free burrito reward is legit.
Now, there's so much to this. So have we talked to Guzman y Gomez? And am I right that did they just expand, or are they like new in Illinois? I feel like there's something new about them that was just advertised.
There's one location in Bucktown. The other 7 are in the suburbs. Schaumburg is one of the suburban locations, but it's a local Mexican chain. And I did call the location in Bucktown. I spoke to a manager. I explained what the story we are working on is about. They were really excited when we first called, but when I told them what we were covering, they said, you got to talk to corporate. So they took my information down. They said they would reach out to corporate, pass my info along, and I am still waiting to hear back. Would love to get a statement from the restaurant on where they came up with this idea, what they are getting in terms of responses from it. But I think, you first see a random QR code with no signage saying what restaurant it's for. So you do have to wonder, is this legit? There are so many QR codes just out there now that you got to be concerned about, am I scanning something that's going to give my phone a virus? In this case, it is a legitimate ad and it is a real offer. But the Alderman Scott Wagasback of the 32nd Ward, he told us today that this is such a busy area, especially during rush hour. There's a highway entrance right by the Damon Avenue Bridge. So, the last thing you want is distracted driving. He did say that in a case like this, there's not a whole lot that can be done. He did refer the case to CDOT to have them come and check it out, but it is a free speech issue. So there's nothing offensive to the billboard. If there was, that could potentially be taken down. He said likely what CDOT will do is they'll come check it out. They may reach out to the company. They may do a little bit of an investigation themselves to find out if this is causing problems here, if it's led to any fender benders. That we have not heard of, this causing any accidents. But it seems that this billboard behind us is relatively newly installed. The restaurant has another QR code close by, but it's like on the side of a building. It's not on a busy street, so that isn't so much of a concern as this big bright yellow and black advertisement.
Yeah, so it's that they opened up Bucktown in December, so it is still new. You would expect that they would be putting a lot of advertisement up, to let people know it's in your area now. Bucktown and Des Plaines. I wonder if people would see this any different than, any other provocative billboard that's going to make you look up when you're, for that matter, right. You even see like some road signs that are telling you to stay safe that make you look up to them.
Yeah, and hey, and that's the question is this brilliant marketing or is it a dangerous distraction? We talked to a passerby who was heading to Midtown Athletic Club, which is a gym in the area, and he said that he hasn't actually scanned it, but he did take a picture of it, not driving, walking the other day, and he sent it to some friends who love burritos. He said, though, he would be tempted, even if he was behind the wheel, he probably would be tempted to scan it. And that goes back to the alderman who said, drivers really have to take accountability for themselves and not do something that's going to put them or others in harm's way.
Yeah, that's a tough one. This is a tough one for sure, but I can see why it's a talker, but it is a tough one in terms of the free speech aspect that you brought up, and then how many other things can take people's eyes off of the road, hands from the wheel and whatnot that aren't regulated to say you've got to take it down. So, yeah, I look forward to seeing where this goes. Thank you, Casey.
Thanks, Anita. Always great to chat.
Absolutely. We'll see you at 4 o'clock. Not too much longer to go, everybody. 3:37. Give us 2 minutes. We'll be right back. Our next guest is already on the line. All right, welcome back, everyone. I don't know if you've missed the maybe 15 times we've referenced the fact that Valentine's is this weekend, but just one more time, Valentine's is this weekend, and there are many ways that you can show love. Obviously, there's romantic love for sure, but you can also show love to people in various other ways, in various other forms. And so this really warms my heart to see what this next organization is doing. I want to go ahead and bring in Jackie Richards, the founder and executive director of the Fisher Outreach Group Incorporated, to talk a little bit about showing some love to seniors and veterans for Valentine's Day this year. Thanks so much for your time. Uh-oh, Jackie, I cannot hear you. Let's see, is it on us or on you all side?
I believe our volume's on.
Okay, I can hear you now. I can hear you
now.
Okay. And Jackie, who are you joined by?
This is one of our sponsors, Dan Curran from Dan Curran Law, and they have sponsored the Adopted Grandparent Program since we started them in 2020.
Oh, that's so special. So, Dan, I'm going to talk to you as well. Jackie, let me start with you first and foremost. And just tell me why you decided to do something like this.
We started the programs as a way to honor my mom and dad after suddenly losing them 4 months apart.
Wow.
And our family was looking for a way to just honor their memory. And we found that there was a great need in McHenry County for support for low-income senior citizens and veterans that really just don't have a family or friends support system. And with the help of our amazing community, that has turned into a year-long series of programs that support those exact people.
Oh wow, year long. So Valentine's Day, is this like the pinnacle for it, or is it just a part of it along the way?
It's the second favorite. Our first favorite is definitely our adopted grandparent Christmas program. Valentine's Day is their second favorite because they love to feel loved and remembered. And then our farmers market program that fights in food insecurity for our low-income seniors is probably our third biggest program.
Wow, all of those seem like wonderful ways and nourishing people, mind, body, and spirit. Dan, why
Yes.
join in on this?
Well, I took care of my mom at home until I couldn't anymore. And during my visits to her at the facility, which is one of the ones that Jackie now serves, I noticed that people really didn't the need to see somebody and have somebody care for them wasn't always fulfilled. Jackie's very, which is beyond belief how much the seniors love that. Just that someone cares about them. And this is and Jackie fulfilled that gap of the and the outpourings of volunteers as well as in the business community is good, but not enough. It always needs more.
You can always use more, and especially for something like this. So Jackie, tell me about the things that you do, like, and how people can help.
Well, this year we were very blessed, and we have an amazing volunteer named Jamie Larkey, and she was able to get her company involved. It's Connection Electrical Distributors out of Buffalo Grove. They donated over 600 goodie bags filled with treats and candy and lotions and all kinds of goodies for our seniors. And we had a local bakery. It's My Old Fashioned Farm stand and bakery. This family does everything that they do to give for free from their heart, and they decorated 500 beautiful, amazing sugar cookies for our seniors. So we generally put together an Amazon wish list with items that we need for our programs, and our amazing community supports everything that we do. And that's how we, as a 100% volunteer nonprofit organization, are able to make such an amazing difference to the seniors and veterans we reach.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, why not stop at seniors? Why add? And I'll go ahead and say I'm a little biased when it comes to veterans, as the daughter of one. So, but why not stop at seniors? Why say seniors and veterans?
I have always worked with veterans, even before I did fundraising and charitable work with low-income senior citizens. My brother is a retired soldier, and I have 3 amazing nephews who are currently serving. And I just have the utmost respect for those who have served our country and who do serve our country. And any little bit of support that we can offer them to make them know that they are seen and appreciated, I'm there if I can be.
I think it's awesome. And even in seeing the two of you all together, that shows community in and of itself. If other people want to be a part of the community, if they want to help you out, what do they need to do?
I encourage everybody to visit our website, which I'm sure you'll have a link for. It's FisherOutreachGroup.com. We're also on TikTok and very big on Facebook. If you follow the Fisher Outreach Group, there's interviews with seniors, photos from our events, volunteer opportunities, all of the information about all of the programs. And for anybody who thinks that a small business can't make a difference, Dan Curran Law has made a huge difference. These 2 companies that stepped up this year to sponsor the Adopted Grandparent Valentine's Day program, to them it was a small thing. To us, it was everything.
Yeah, and for these seniors, many of them, and the veterans, we talk a lot. I mean, the Valentine's Day is very commercialized. Many holidays become very commercialized, but they can also be times of great isolation for people as well. Speak a little bit more about really making a difference in people's lives.
I know that we found, because our program stemmed from the COVID era, as we were building our platform and going into the facilities and interacting with these senior citizens, we have heard from so many directors that there has been such an increase in their mental and emotional stability. They're coming out of their rooms, they're meeting neighbors, they're getting together again. The biggest comment I hear from my seniors whenever we do anything, and I stop in at every facility, even if we don't have programs, I give them these Valentine's cards, and they can tell that a child somewhere made it, and they're blown away. They can't believe that someone that doesn't even know them took the time to do this for them. And that boost to their self-esteem and their emotional well-being is the best gift that the community helps me give them.
Yeah, just being able to bring a smile to someone's face and to know you really are making their day, I would think just makes the world a little better of a place. And for Dan, there's I clearly could hear your heart in terms of wanting to sponsor something like this and an organization like this. But when you get that feedback, does it make you just want to do even? You mentioned, she could use more, but does it make you then say, I need to do even more?
When we go to these events, we go ourselves. We volunteer, obviously. And to see the smile it puts on their face, or the joy that just they have someone care and actually do something for them. There's no measure you can receive that kind of gratitude.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you all both for what you're doing. And again, I think the world of an opportunity like this. Jackie, so for the rest of the year, if people want to help out the Fisher Outreach Group, tell us a little bit more about the organization itself, how you founded it, how long it's been around. Give us more information about your organization.
The nonprofit itself, I believe, has been around since 2018. And at my CPA's advice, I became a 501c3 in 2021, I believe it was. So we've been around for a while. We have a lot of volunteer opportunities throughout the year. As I said, we do different programs throughout the year. And then we also do surprise pop-up programs. If I hear them saying that they haven't painted cookies in a long time, I'll throw together a cookie class. So there's a lot of opportunities for small businesses, church groups. We have a lot of school groups. We have honor society students that come and volunteer at events to get the hours that they need. We have the Nest School of Crystal Lake is one of our annual sponsors, and those children create cards, and they come on site about 4 times a year. They actually come, the school age kids, to the low income living facility and do programs that interact with the seniors. And you want to see smiles when they see those kids. Their hearts melt.
I love it. And it really shows the intergenerational way of they can learn something. Of course, the kids can learn from the older generation, and the older generation can get something from the kids as well. Again, thank you both for what you do, both for this weekend and throughout the year. It makes a difference, and I'm sure extends some lives as well.
Thank you so much for helping us share our information. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
No problem at all. It's our joy. It's 3:50, everybody. And again, that was the Fisher Outreach Group Incorporated. She does have an Amazon wish list if you'd like to help out from wherever you are. And she also has more information on their website so that you can be a part of helping people throughout the area. So again, look them up. and make sure you help out. We could all use that at some point in time in our lives, just somebody saying, I want to do something special for you. And they're obviously giving this away for free. So being able to help an organization that's helping our seniors and our veterans, we can all chip in some way. Let's take a quick break, 2 minutes, and we'll be right back. .353. Welcome back, everyone. Before we get out of here, we want to take you to a couple of different live events that are happening right now, and we're going coast to coast on this. So first and foremost, let's go out to New York City. This is an area where you can see protesters and also some New York City officials there. This area is called Stonewall, all right? The Stonewall National Monument is where it's kind of the birthplace of the LGBTQ plus rights movement. And so there's a lot of significance for people in this area. And the Trump administration recently took down a flag in this area. So these officials, these activists are back out there today in defiance, raising a rainbow pride flag. Here, you know, they're going to have events going on throughout the weekend. Of course, we don't have control over the camera, so some people may kind of walk up on it there, but you can see the flag is high, the people are out there and want their message to get across there. They said that they will be staying out there throughout the weekend, and these elected officials are standing by their side. They've been out there kind of doing some chants. They've again, raising their flags there. They also raised what they call a progress flag out there as well. That includes, and that's what's on your right-hand side of the screen, it includes the stripes in an arrow shape representing members of the trans community, communities of color, as well as those living with AIDS on top of the traditional LGBTQ plus rainbow flag. So they have had over 1,000 people that have come out there at some point in time today. They've heard from several people as well again, but most importantly, they wanted to raise that flag back up. The Stonewall Uprising of 1969 was the turning point in the civil rights for LGBTQ plus people. So again, this area here has great significance to people, and they have gone back out there to raise another flag after the Trump administration took it down. Speaking of the Trump administration, though, Kristi Noem is on the West Coast right now. She is giving a press conference. She's been speaking there. Let's listen into a bit of what she has to say since she's at the mic.
single individual that's in that detention facility is given the opportunity to go home to their home country. If they decide that day that they want to go home, we'll give them $2,600 and a plane ticket and take them back home. So it's their choice on if they want to stay there or not.
Okay, so listening to her there, they have been at the border. This is in Otay Mesa, where she is giving this press conference right now. She's been joined by Border Patrol Chief Mike Banks is behind her, and also they've had some Customs and Border Protection officials there as they have been recognizing, again, these additional efforts that they have been taking over the last several months to ramp up their immigration and customs enforcement throughout the country. Many of those have been fought, and many of those, especially when you look at the U.S.-Mexico border, we have seen a great shift in terms of how many people have been coming over. So there are obviously some wins and some areas of concern as well to their ramped up immigration efforts there. But she is here in, again, Otay Mesa, giving a speech and hearing from some of the reporters. They're doing some question and answer in this area as they have many different aspects of this that are being questioned. And they also had a large seizure in this area too. Let's see, drug seizure efforts. That's a part of what they're updating people on as well there at Otay Mesa. So again, we wanted to give you two sides of things that are going on. We took you out to the West Coast where people are protesting for increased LGBTQ plus visibility and rights, and there to the West Coast where you see Kristi Noem, who is the Director of Homeland Security, and she is really touting their ramped up efforts and some of the wins that they feel that they have made over the last several months. We are getting ready to send you over to First at 4. We always appreciate having you here between 1 and 4 p.m. for Chicago Live. That's going to be it for us today. We'll be right back here tomorrow, though, and we hope that you will be as well.
Live from Chicago, this is Fox 32 News at 4.
Here's what we're talking about today. Early voting started where you can go that didn't exist before.
We are following up on the death of an 8-year-old in